Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, addicts of all ages, welcome to Canadian Sober, eh? I'm your host and resident alcoholic, Dougie Fresh. So glad you're here. When you think about somebody who's been in recovery for a while, you think that they might obtain certain things. Maybe a high school diploma, maybe get that really good job they were hoping to get, financial wealth. Maybe they really always wanted to buy a BMW and a BMW sitting in the driveway. I can tell you this next guest has accomplished more things in life than any other recovering addict I've ever known. And he started a foundation called E2R, Empowered to Recover. And he's doing amazing things with that and amazing things with other people in his life. So without further ado, can we give a nice big warm welcome, Canadian Sober A, Jay. How's it going, Jay?
Hey, that was great, Dougie boy. I mean, you know how to put the icing on the cake, don't you? No pun intended.
I spread it all around.
You're good at that one.
Can you tell the people watching today a little bit about who Jay is?
Well, February 11th, 2026, I celebrate 18 years being a healaholic, healing from my trauma. I'm not that guy that says I'm an addict or an alcoholic, because I'm not today, and I never was. I just dealt with I had to deal with Jay, and Jay didn't want to deal with Jay, and so Jay used everything outside of him to not be Jay, and those things were very destructive, very numbing, very hurtful, very, and those are the things that I did, so I could never get to know the amazing human I actually am. And when people said that I was an amazing human, I didn't believe them, and I had to actually take that healing journey on my own after a good stint in beating myself up with my trauma and using everything outside of everything, all the way up to 2005, trying to take my life back-to-back times in Barrie, Ontario. And when you get to that point in your life, you've actually convinced yourself that nobody wants you around, your family doesn't love you, the world would be better without you. So you've allowed the roommate inside your head to actually convince you that you're worthless, that you're not worth it, that you're not going to amount to anything. So it's just better off taking your life and crossing over and doing whatever has to happen. And that's what I tried in 2005 at 25 years old. And obviously I didn't succeed at it that time. And one of the worst feelings is when you wake up and you've convinced yourself that, right? Because it's kind of like, I can't even kill myself, right? Like what is really left in the tank for me? And then a couple days later, I go do the same thing again. I go buy what I need to buy in order to kill my pain, and I try hanging myself for 24 hours. And I ended up turning myself into the police in Barrie, Ontario, and ended up getting a year in penitentiary for driving while under suspension for the 5th time. And at that point, jail saved my life. And the cycle just continued. You know what I mean? The cycle just continued. If the cycle continued because I didn't want to look at Jay, the cycle continued because I thought I was healed already, and what I was using was healing me. But every time I looked in the mirror, I had an orange suit on, or every time I looked in the mirror, I was, get me out of this situation or get me out of that situation. And the only time I'd ever get on my hands and knees and pray is, when I was in jail. So God only was really a part of my life, 1% of my life, is when I was in real trouble. I never had any faith. I didn't know what faith was. I thought it was all hokey pokey, spooky, and what is all this stuff, right? And I tend to use it when the times were the worst, and obviously it didn't work because I was only exercise. It's like, if you're not working faith and you're not working your healing, I mean, obviously it's not going to grow. It's kind of like a muscle. If you're not working out, your muscles aren't going to grow. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And then February or January 7th of 2008, that's when I hit the bottom and got kicked out of a bar. They caught me sniffing some kind of glue on the bar, and Apparently, you're not supposed to do that out in public. But when you're into your beating yourself up, it doesn't matter where you are. You're going to do it anywhere, and it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. And um, yeah, I left there, and a guy owed me money across the street. I got a bow and arrow. I tried to shoot the guy with the bow and arrow. He called the police, and uh, as the front of the newspaper said here in Kenora, Ontario, as I'm sitting in jail, short pursuit for Jay Barnard. So I guess what happened is I tried running and then I rolled down a hill and they got me on the ice and they got me with a bunch of glue in my pocket. Drug of choice was cocaine, so that's what the glue is. I was sitting in jail, kind of going like, wow, you're 27 and you got nothing left. Like, what do you got? You ain't got a bank account. You ain't got a family. You ain't got anybody around. You're alone. You're in debt. You don't nothing. You got nowhere to live. And then I had bail on Wednesday, and the judge was sick, and the justice of the peace was there, and they're like, "We're going to give you bail, but you got all these conditions and a beeper." And I'm like, "Bail? What do you mean bail?" You're not a problem. You know what I mean? So right away, it's like, I know I'm not the problem, right? Because he got bail. And, but January 7th was the last time I had a drink, 2008. I just couldn't give up the hard stuff. I didn't know how to let that go. And I used the hard stuff right up until I went to treatment. It was so bad that I'd be, one of the conditions is that I would go see a counselor. I mean, I'd be blowing lines in the bathroom. I'd say, hey, I need to go get high. I'd be smoking crack and, like the counselor would just let me go. And the February 10th, last time I used, February 11th, I started the journey and went to the Ottawa Men's Anchorage Boost Center with the Salvation Army. And basically, they cut the beeper and said, son, good luck. And basically, at that point, I could have been a nomad and done anything I wanted to do because they've now cut the beeper. Now I understand why a lot of people, go and do what they do. But took the rest of my drug money, caught a bus to Winnipeg. My family was gracious enough to pay for a flight. And I didn't know what treatment was. Landed, went to the Burger King and had 3 Whoppers because I didn't think I'd ever eat again, going to treatment. And I got in a cab, got outside the Salvation Army. 6 drug dealers swarmed me, asking me for my drug of choice. I'm like, where did you put me? Downtown George Street, Ottawa. Walk over, it's the Salvation Army homeless shelter. And I'm like, is this the treatment center? They're like, oh no, it's down the road, and I go, it's right next door. That was my first day. Of what soon we will say 18 years. So that was my first day into treatment, and boy, I really had to learn how to let ego go. I really had to learn how to let selfishness go. I really had to learn how to let pride go. I really had to learn how to stop lying and manipulating and cheating and hurting. And I had to learn how to do these new things like love and compassion and kindness and helping and, picking up the phone when somebody calls you because they need help and lending a hand and giving and showing up. Like, I had to learn how to show up, and then I learned that like 99% of life is showing up. And that's faith, right? The other 1% is what you're going to do with that faith. I had to learn about bringing in faith. I had to learn about God and my understanding. And today I can say God. I couldn't say God back then. I said creator, and I really had to understand that this God is like, I'm one in God. And if I can give everything to God, I will live a really good life. And that's the beginning. That was the beginning, Dougie. Would you like me to move to the middle now, Dougie?
No, I think that was great. Thanks a lot, Jay. Sometimes, we don't realize how important our stories are because we don't know how they're going to affect other people at the time when we tell them, and I think I've known you for a little while. I'm super duper excited to meet you in person. But I've always respected you. I've always looked at you almost inspirationally, because you do so much for people, and I think that's where I want to be one day. You know what I mean? I want to have that. And that's the greedy part, I think, in recovery for me today is I don't get highs off of money or materialistic things and you know any of that stuff. I told my wife we did a country hoedown here for that SOS group I run on Saturday nights, support on Saturdays, and we I just stood in the corner and I had this biggest smile on my face. My wife came over and she goes, "What are you smiling at?" And I just said, "Look at all these people just having a great time without drugs or alcohol. Like look at this. Like this is pretty good." So, the things you've done in your recovery, the things you've done in life, tell me a little bit about that. You started that foundation, Empower to Recover. And I also know, and maybe people out there don't, but I also know you're a pretty big chef. And I'm super excited maybe one day to try some of this food that you keep posting about online. I'm blessed in that sense. So tell the people a little bit about your foundation that you have.
Well, the I have been able to do everything I wanted to do in my healing journey. Anything that I've ever set out to do. You talked about a chef, right? The first thing I ever wanted to do was to fulfill that dream to be a chef. And, Judge Frazier saw something in me before anybody else saw something in me. And I was in second stage at the time, and I was looking at 5 years in prison for those last charges, possession of the purpose of trafficking cocaine. And I went back to Kenora to deal with him, and he's like, "Where's Jay?" Suit, smiling, yes sir, no sir. And 5 year sentence turned into 18 months probation, and he allowed me to go back to Ottawa to fulfill my dream to be a chef. And at that moment, I really understood that if you help yourself, others are willing to help you. But I also understood that, the judicial system's not against me, right? They actually want to see me do well. And that's where like my career took off as a chef. Like I went to school, became a chef, went to Algonquin College, got to go to Fort McMurray, became a celebrity chef. That was exciting. Got to do things for Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier. And then all of a sudden I'm just this motivational speaker going all across Canada in 2011. You know what I mean? So when I look back now, sitting here in 2025 and look back now, it's like, wow, you can accomplish a lot of stuff. I've opened my own restaurant. I opened up my own fish processing plant. That thing was an award-winning business. But the one problem, Dougie, you know what the one problem was the whole time, Dougie? I had ego. And because my ego got in my way, I was always chasing money. And because I was always chasing money, because I was a drug dealer. I was a drug dealer. So I love money, right? But money is a sin. It's a sin, right? And so I did really, really, really well. Really, really well. Had a couple $1,000,000, really, really well. And then COVID came, and then I lost the business. And we talk about long-term recovery. Like a lot of people don't share about long-term recovery and the struggles in long-term recovery, right? Like long-term recovery struggles are a little bit different than early recovery struggles, but it happens fast. Like I see a lot of people trip, slip, and fall like 15, 18, 20, 25 years. You know what I mean? I don't like the word relapse. It's too dirty for me. I like the trip, slip, and fall. But so like 2018, I'm on the top of my game. I'm speaking all across Canada. I got this award-winning business. We just sold out the Shaw Center downtown Ottawa, like for my 10-year anniversary of being healing. And I get off the stage. I don't think anybody got anything. I planned to take my life on the way home. 2018, 10 years into recovery. I say, if I get home and I hug my daughter Destiny, and I love my daughter Destiny. If I don't feel any love, I'm done. She'll do better with her mom. And I didn't feel any love. I went to the tree where my best friend hung himself, and I was ready to jump. The water just came out of the dam. They're like, "What was it?" Went down, and I went and saw my counselor that hadn't seen me in 10 years. That got me to the Salvation Army. And she basically looked at me and said, "Jay, have you ever said you're proud of yourself?" For 10 years in recovery, I never said I was proud of myself. 10 years, you know why? Ego was in the way. You know why? Selfishness was in the way, right? from there, I go on to be like this award-winning guy again, but it's just like ego, right? So you talk about the foundation and empowered to recover, and that's where my soul had to get cleansed. That's where I had to really like, okay, if I'm a man of God, then it's 100% to God. I can't put 4 toes in, and I can't put a toenail in, and I can't put a hair in, and I can't put one arm in. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. You'll get it to a certain level, but it'll always catch you. It always caught me. Didn't matter if I was in relationships, didn't matter if I was in business, didn't matter if I was doing TV stuff, didn't matter if I was doing interviews, didn't matter. It always, always got me. And this time, it really got me. I lost $2.5 million. I lost the business. I lost a long-term relationship. God was like, we're cleaning you. And this is at 16 years. 16 years, I started doing Empower to Recover, and we're going into our third event. And I really started Empower to Recover because of the TEDx talk I did and saw the big gap and all that stuff going across Canada. But at our third event in Calgary, at 16 years into recovery, I'm planning my death for 3 days in the room in Calgary. It was in 2023, right? I come home and I go to the fish plant on a Sunday at 6 o'clock where nobody should be around to jump off a ladder. The realtor shows up and catches me on the ladder. 2023, not too long ago. At that point, I knew. At that point, I knew God wasn't done with me. At that point, I knew I needed to give my whole complete soul to God. And if I didn't, that eventually this thing was going to get me, which is me. And the foundation and Empowered to Recover just grew right after that. So when we went into 2024, life changed. I didn't make it about money. I made it about people. I made it about love. I made it about kindness. I made it about compassion. I made it about just giving. I made it about showing up. We did 8 events in 2024 with a right hip replacement. I don't even know how that happened. God got me there. Like, things started happening because I wasn't making it about Jay. I was making it about everybody else. I was making it. I was just feeling this love for myself that I'd never felt before. I was feeling this. I didn't get in any relationships. I stayed out of relationships. I didn't get any physical. I didn't get any emotional. I didn't get any cheating. I didn't get nothing. I just stayed to me and built my relationship with God and myself at 16 years. And I don't suggest anybody try and do that trail. That's a long trail. But what I can tell you is today, I've never been so happy. I've never been so happy not having money. Never been so happy just having the needs that I need. Not being so happy. You talk about people coming to your events and they're not drinking and they're just celebrating. That's what every event we do. It's just a big celebration of all types of recovery, all ways of recovery, all forms of recovery, all pathways of recovery. It's just turned into this amazing movement where people follow us around Canada. And I'm going to meet you in Toronto, February 13th. We're going to celebrate my 18 years together. That's what we're going to do. We're going to celebrate my 18 years together, and we're going to do it in TO, and we're going to do the 25th live event, and we're going to do it at the Casa Rica, and we're going to have a phenomenal day. We got some phenomenal speakers. We got a phenomenal day set up, and I owe it all. It's God's plan, not my plan. And when I finally decided to say, you know what, enough of Jay's plan, really 100% God's plan, I just became a brand new person, and I had a rebirth. And I think that's what we kind of strive for people that are healing. You're trying to really heal to that rebirth, right? And rebirth really means that you're not allowing or giving yourself permission to hurt yourself anymore, right? Because we're really prone to hurting ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we're really prone that if we're hurting ourselves, then we're hurting others, right? So the foundation has just done some phenomenal work. I mean, 226 speakers across 5 provinces, 18 cities, 220 partners from organizations, businesses, products, services, raised over $300,000 to put on all these events. That's people money, by the way. We're not funded by the government in any shape, size, or form. We've directly helped 49 people through the GRC, which is just getting launched, which is a phenomenal thing that's coming out. It's just phenomenal. With a 79% recovery rate. So the foundation saved my life. This thing saved my life, and I needed to save my life. and that's the truth of the matter. If you're not saving your own life, you can't save other people. I was doing a really good at saving. I was doing a real good job at saving other people, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing a real good job of saving myself.
Mm.
Right. So what you saw is what you saw. I'm not telling you I didn't work on myself, and I'm not telling you I didn't put in the work, and I'm not telling you I'm not telling you. But I wasn't 100%. Right. So I'd be 90, 98, 90, 85, 9. I couldn't just say 100. I couldn't just say 100 because if I said 100, that means that I'm all in. If I'm all in, I can't turn back. Right. So I can't go back on anything that I said. I can't go back on anything. If anything, I can't go back. Right. If I'm 99, I can go back. Right. Because I'm not all in.
Yeah.
So, if anything, any message I could share, any advice, anything, get to 100% as fast as you can, whatever that looks like for you. Don't dazzle one toe. Don't dazzle two toes. Karma will always get you somewhere. It always does. That's the thing about it. That's why it's called karma. It'll get you. But if you're 100% pure to yourself and you're 100% from a loving kindness, compassion standpoint, and you're making it about giving and you're making it about, I need to heal Jay. And if I can heal Jay, I can go out and heal other people. Because if I'm no good for Jay, I'm no good for anybody else.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to get loud. I can't wait to get excited and bring the hype. And I can't wait. It's been a long time. Me and you haven't met in person. And I know me and you have been following. I'm just as inspired by you, to be honest, and how you do things. And I'm inspired by you guys out there doing your thing. It inspires me to continue my journey of healing and stuff, right? So as much as people are inspired by me and everything that we do, I've always turned, I learned that when you turn me upside down, it's we, right? Like me upside down is we.
Yeah.
Right. So when that happens, we're just rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always said that, I interviewed a lady 2 years ago on the show, Jessica, who said we're stronger together, and it's so true. I wouldn't be who I am today if there wasn't people before me that kind of showed me the ropes, or kind of showed me, hey Doug, this is how it works. This is what we do. We got about 5 minutes left in the show, and I want to ask you a question. Since you started talking, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, thank goodness for that realtor, that walked in that day. And then it got me thinking, about, maybe a proud moment you've had, so I know you're super, super over in love with your daughter and you love your daughter. So besides your daughter, what would you say in the last 18 years has been your biggest, proudest moment that you've been really happy you've either met somebody or you've accomplished something?
I'll give you 3. So number 1 is I was able to give 10 years of recovery to my grandpa. Like my grandpa got to see me in recovery for a solid 10 years. And seeing his smile, seeing him rooting me on, seeing him not have to worry about me, which would follow suit with my mom as well. My mom having me back in her life the way that it should be. And her husband, Rick, who has been a massive supporter and helping me and all of that stuff. So that's a real proud thing. I want to say co-parenting is another one. Co-parenting is a proud thing for me that Julie and I are able to understand that it's about our daughter destiny and we don't make it about each other. So our daughter is really loved from both angles. And co-parenting is not easy for everybody, but when you make it about the kid, it is easy because that's what it's about. Number 3, number 3, Dougie, you're putting me on the spot. There's so many things that I could be proud of. You know what? Never giving up on myself.
Good for you.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think that I think that should be number 1, but it's landing at number 3 today because I just really love my family. But not giving up on myself. And so many times I did, man. Like I did. And and for whatever reason, God had a bigger plan for me. God had a bigger purpose for me. God had a bigger passion for me. God had my back, and I think that's probably why I started saying never give up, keep living the dream at day one in recovery. Because that was used to be my tab. Well, it still kind of is. I don't say it as much as I used to, but as chef recovery, I used to always people used to just be like, "Stop that!" And I keep living the dream. Now it's big love, right? So all you hear out of me is big love. Doesn't matter what you say to me. You can say good, bad, or ugly. I'm like big love, big love, big love. People just don't even know what I mean. So yeah, I think those are the top three. I mean, obviously there's so many because I just had such a phenomenal. That's such a phenomenal journey, and I'm grateful and blessed for the rock bottom that taught me that Jay's worth it and that Jay can accomplish anything he wants to.
Good for you, brother. All right, 2 minutes left. Do a plug. How can people support E2R? Where can they go? How can they find you? Give a plug.
So www.empoweredtorecover.com. That's where you're going to go. Actually, if you're looking to come to the Toronto event, you're just going to hit the Toronto link, and you can get all your tickets there, boosts there, empowering combo packs there. You can you can be a sponsor as well. We're on all social media platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. All Empowered to Recover. I am not a very difficult person to find. I am actually very easy to find. So if you do need to reach out and talk to me, I pick up the phone and I talk. But yes, please check out Empowered to Recover. We're doing some phenomenal work, and I can't wait to see you in Toronto, Dougie boy.
That's awesome. There you have it, folks. That's Jay Barnard from Empowered to Recover. If you he just gave you all the information. If you want to go check him out, if you want to donate to that foundation, please donate to that foundation. And if you want to go to the Toronto event, come see us at the Toronto event, and meet some pretty amazing people. And I know Jay has a lot of amazing people lined up to share that day. I can't wait to listen to a lot of those people tell their stories of experience, strength, and hope. I'm so glad, brother, that you brought up some really good points tonight about, people in long-term recovery, that they suffer too. And, I'm so grateful that you didn't take your life and that you're still here. And, so if you're listening there today, if you need help, call the help number. I believe here in Canada, what is it, Jay? It's 211 or 811?
811.
811. Call 811 if you're struggling with anything. If you feel like harming yourself or doing anything, call 811 and get the help you need. And then maybe one day you'll be as awesome as Jay. So, thanks again, brother, for being here. Thanks everybody watching at home, Canadian Sober A.